Following intense negotiation rounds and with the negotiations still ongoing despite statements that they've reached a dead end by the Qatari leadership now, Israel allowed aid into the Gaza Strip. But there's one big problem. Israel only allowed 9 aid trucks to go into the Gaza Strip after 3 months of not allowing anything. It's getting heavy criticism, not only from countries close, but countries that are traditional allies for the state of Israel. And for the first time in history, we're hearing about sanctions from countries like Britain, France, and Canada, with more tensions with the United States administration and reports about Trump abandoning Israel altogether. We're going to go through all of that today and talk about the prospects of actually reaching an agreement following all of the recent tensions that are happening. So we will begin with the first report about the aid going into the Gaza Strip. Israel is finally allowing aid to go in, but there's a very big problem. They're only allowing 9 aid trucks to go and feed 2.4 million people. Now, for those of you who understand the situation in Gaza, Gaza needs 500 to 600 aid trucks a day on a normal day. That's without any starvation or any problems. Now, as parts of the relief, they'll probably need 1,000 a day for a period of time for recovery, allow all of the essentials in, people can actually start eating and have everything that they need in terms of medication and supplies. Then it can go back to 500-600 trucks a day. Why did Benjamin Netanyahu allow all of this aid in, and how comes his ministers, his genocide ministers, allowed this aid to go in? Especially people like Bezalel Smotrich, who said just a few weeks back, we won't allow 1 grain of wheat into the Gaza Strip to go into Hamas. Well, Netanyahu, he made a statement. He said, it's because it's approaching the red line. It's approaching the red line and we have to allow aid in. We don't want people to starve. The European countries told us we'll continue to support you and arm you and everything that you need and give you impunity. You can continue everything. But please don't let the people die of hunger. Therefore, they allowed 9 aid trucks. Now, was there pressure coming from countries? Well, of course, external pressures contributed to all of this. And the Israeli foreign minister, he confirmed that external aid was the main motive behind Israel allowing aid to go into the Gaza Strip. He said that countries outright threatened Israel with sanctions. Gideon Saar said some European countries threatened us with sanctions. Therefore, we had to allow aid to go inside the Gaza Strip. Benjamin Netanyahu started to allow the aid to go in. Smotrich said it's fine because it's only for the people not to die, because they won't allow us to starve people to death. European countries won't allow us to starve people to death. So we got in 9 aid trucks inside. Now, how is that going to affect the situation in Gaza? It's not going to do anything to the people. 9 aid trucks isn't going to do anything for the people of Gaza. You're talking about a population that has been starving for a very long time, and they need hundreds, if not thousands, of trucks in the initial phase. Israel, simultaneously with all of this aid, is conducting again barbaric genocidal attacks in the Gaza Strip, killing 500 people in 3 days in multiple parts of Gaza. Who are they killing? Innocent civilians, as usual. They had a failed operation in Khan Yunis a couple of days ago. They tried to kidnap one figure from the Popular Resistance Committees and their armed group, the Brigades of Salah ad-Din. He combated them and they eventually assassinated him. Now, there were also other attacks coming from Al-Qassam brigades against 3 Israeli forces inside of the Gaza Strip, using 2 explosive devices and 1 tandem missile against them. Israel confirmed that one of its terrorists in Gaza was also killed in the 401 brigade in the Gaza Strip. They're continuing to get repeated blows, and they're pretending like they're going ahead with this campaign simultaneously with the talks to potentially reach a ceasefire that we're not really seeing so far. Now, they're killing the people, they're starving them to death, they're allowing 9 aid trucks. How is that coming with the countries that supposedly applied pressure on Israel to force the aid into the Gaza Strip? Now, there is a very strong statement, very different tone coming from the United Kingdom and France and Canada. Joint statement coming from all of these countries stating that, well, that's not enough. What Israel is doing is not enough, and they need to allow more aid in to the Gaza Strip. They also threatened Israel with outright sanctions, saying we're going to have to sanction Israel if they continue down this path. The language that was used was also different than before. Well, slightly different than before. They said that what Israel's announced it got into Gaza was wholly inadequate. Immediately allow humanitarian aid, and it must be aligned with humanitarian principles. Again, calling Hamas to release the hostages, as they call them. They're saying Israel is risking breaching humanitarian law, as if, the ICJ and the ICC didn't already conclude that. We condemn the abhorrent language used by the Israeli government, threatening that in their despair at the destruction of Gaza, civilians will start to relocate. Permanent forced displacement is a breach of international law. They continue to say that Israel must stop the settlements. It's undermining the viability of a Palestinian state. We support the efforts by the United States, Qatar, and Egypt to reach a ceasefire in Gaza. We need to work towards the implementation of a two-state solution. And they're also saying that they're willing to recognize a Palestinian state, with the threat of also having sanctions. Where was the sanction section in this report? We will not hesitate to take further action, including targeted sanctions. So what does this tell us about the position coming from European countries, the United Kingdom, and Canada and France? Well, it's quite symbolic. It's very symbolic, and it's a change of tone, but it's also something else. It's showing you how much they're complicit and how much they are a participant in this genocide. How? Well, if they're using this power and this threat and this language now, they could have used it in day one, didn't they? When they were legitimizing the Israeli actions and not expecting everything to be exposed as it is now. They're showing how complicit they are, saying that move, okay, change of position, continue all the way. Start imposing these sanctions. Did the man show you that he stopped at any point? He didn't stop, and he's continuing. Enough is enough. Sanctions, boycott, divestment, and threaten them with military action to take down the apartheid regime immediately. This is what you need to do. Not threaten with sanctions after you've been participating for so long. But this just shows you how far Benjamin Netanyahu has reached. And he's not happy with this response, by the way. Israel, of course, commented on this report, said that it's an unusual threat from these countries, 3 Western powers. We will consider sanctions against Israel, and Netanyahu is calling it a reward for Hamas. They're saying it's a reward for Hamas. Netanyahu is telling them, therefore you can't have this. One day, after he himself confirmed that the same countries who are now speaking to him in this tone will take action or will threaten with some action against him. But the 9-8 trucks clearly didn't work. And the tone is rising from these countries. But it's not only that. The tensions are continuing with the United States of America. Now, in the United States, there are reports to the Washington Post coming from a source, Trump saying, "We'll abandon you if the war continues." US President Donald Trump has been increasing pressure on Israel over the recent attacks. An anonymous source told Washington Post on Monday that the United States will abandon Israel. Of course, some people are saying that this is too much, this is extreme. It's not really accurate that the United States will abandon Israel. However, we need to judge it based on the context. Has the United States been taking certain actions that are not in favor of Israel? Well, fact of the matter is yes. They completely had a ceasefire with Ansarullah. They went visited all of the Arab countries and they did not even look at Israel or Benjamin Netanyahu. The Secretary of Defense of the United States canceled the scheduled trip to Israel. And not only that, now J.D. Vance himself is canceling a scheduled visit to Israel due to the continued operation inside of the Gaza Strip. It's showing that there is some change. It's not stopping the genocide yet. It's not to the level required, of course. It's from countries who took part in legitimizing and supporting and facilitating all of this, and countries that have set up this problem from the get-go anyway. But there is some change due to the level of psychopathy and insanity coming from Benjamin Netanyahu to reach a level where J.D. Vance is canceling a visit now. He's not keeping anyone as an ally in the United States administration. And everyone is criticizing him in these countries with more and more threats of sanctions now. Not only that, the criticism internally inside of Israel is increasing too. With Yair Golan, who's the leader of the Democrats in Israel, New Democratic Party, now outright saying a sane country does not kill babies as a hobby. And apparently this statement is shaking Israel. They're so delusional and out of touch that this statement is shocking to them, or at least to some of them, when they've been slaughtering children for the past 18 months. That's apart from the children they were slaughtering previously. Over 20,000 babies, infants, children, kids inside of the Gaza Strip. However, now politicians even in Israel are saying that. This was considered taboo. I mean, criticizing the campaign in Gaza, the genocide in Israel, not long ago was a taboo, by the way. And Israel implemented certain laws in the state that ban people from criticizing it or watching what they call or label or deem as terror content. But now they have Yair Golan telling them, yeah, well, a sane country doesn't kill babies as a hobby. Confirming that his country is killing babies as a hobby. I mean, is there any other understanding? Yair Golan, an Israeli politician, is confirming that Israel kills babies as a hobby. And they're also viewing the big changes, more reports, more analysis, more articles about Trump abandoning Netanyahu. Trump tramples Netanyahu on the way to the nuclear deal with Iran. The campaign of humiliation has only just begun. This was another article in Ma'ariv saying that the insults that Israel has recently suffered from the United States President Donald Trump are a result of Netanyahu's policies, which are systematically destroying American bipartisan support and, in the eyes of many, leading to Israel's downfall even further. They're talking about the days of apartheid. In Israel, they're talking about the days of South African apartheid. We're becoming like South Africa before countries started to boycott South Africa. That was Yair Golan, actually. Said Israel is on the way of becoming a designated state among the nations, the South Africa of old, if it does not return to be run as a sane state. I mean, that's arguable here, but you get the point. They're saying that we might have a South African case if we continue down this path. So all of this is happening. All of this is real. It's not like imaginary. There are tensions. There are certain moves. There are statements happening. There are, well, canceled visits. There's pressure. And there's also criticism. The criticism now is coming from Qatar. Qatar is a key country in the negotiations, of course. Qatar has been mediating for a very long time, and the leaders of the Palestinian movements are in Qatar. Now, one of the main Qatari figures in the negotiations, the Prime Minister Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani, he's slamming Israel directly. He's criticizing Israel and saying that what they're doing is irresponsible, which limits any chance of peace. Usually, he made statements before about certain sides delaying the prospect of a ceasefire because of political reasons, according to him, without naming Benjamin Netanyahu. But now he's outright saying that at a very sensitive period, when this condemnation is coming from European countries, and when they are also applying pressure on Israel. So does that mean that that's it? No more negotiations, and now we need to take action? Someone needs to take action? Well, according to different sources, they're saying that this move coming from Al Thani is actually a move to try and apply pressure on Israel. There was this report here in MAN, which is a Palestinian news agency. Negotiations in Qatar are ongoing and the possibility of reaching an agreement remains. Qatari's prime minister's pessimistic statements regarding the stalled negotiations fall within the framework of political pressure on the concerned parties. There is no concerned parties. It's Israel. It's Netanyahu who is actually delaying everything. Now, according to them, they're going to continue and talk, and there's still some sort of hope for ceasefire talks. But, you know, the Qataris and some countries are also applying pressure to try and see if that makes a change. Is it going to make any difference? I mean, the talks about pressuring Israel to allow aid, Israel confirming that by the words of its foreign minister, show that, well, it pushes something to happen, but not to the adequate level, not to the level that is required for the people to have what they need inside of the Gaza Strip. And Benjamin Netanyahu has repeatedly done that before. I mean, what are they, insane? Are they incompetent, the leaders? Are they playing as if they don't know or don't understand? You have a war criminal. You have a war criminal. You allowed a war criminal to conduct a genocide in Gaza. You still allow him to conduct a genocide. Donald Trump, talk about hypocrisy. He was licking his boots basically in his first visit to the United States, moving his seat and oh yeah, welcome and everything. When he was a wanted war criminal, as he still is now, and Trump was threatening the ISIS. This is what you get when you don't comply with international law. This is what you get when you don't take concrete measures against war criminals. They become more and more arrogant and more psychopathic, and they continue to do what they want to do. Well, are we going to pretend like this is now all? No. You should have taken action against this man before to stop him from his barbaric genocide and stop the state of Israel completely. Dismantle apartheid in Israel. That's it. This is what you need to do. Don't talk to him about a Palestinian state here and there and two state. Dismantle the country. Dismantle apartheid, Zionism, make it illegal, and then implement a one-state solution, simple, with equal human rights. It's very, very straightforward, but they like to make it appear as if it's too complicated. And oh, it's too complicated, it's difficult. No, it's not difficult to understand. It's not complicated. It's the most straightforward conflict on earth. You have a country ruling with religious and ethnic supremacy through terror and expulsion and genocide. And you have people who have been oppressed for the past century. Very simple. Dismantle apartheid and implement equal rights. Very simple, very straightforward. Now, the people who don't buy into this talking and you know, we told them you need to, and we condemn their actions now, are of course Yemen. Yemen now are escalating, and they are declaring that we are now having a siege on the Haifa port. So Ansarullah had this declaration. Armed forces announced a naval blockade on the port of Haifa and war companies against its presence there. This is a new phase coming from Yemen alongside the other escalations that they're having. The aerial blockade. Now they're saying the Haifa port. Haifa port is the gateway of Israel, by the way, to the world. It's the most important port. It's the main point of trade, import and export. Any significant attacks, and if there's an actual blockade on it, Israel gets totally roasted. It's going to have severe measures. I mean, Ansarullah in Yemen, they already led the Eilat port to declare bankruptcy, but now this is another escalation coming from Yemen. They also had one of the Yemeni organizations called the Humanitarian Operations Coordination Center. They issued a statement saying that the maritime navigation prohibition to and from the port of Haifa has been officially imposed. And they're warning everyone, don't go there, you'll be in trouble. Why is Yemen doing that? Is it because Yemen understands something that the rest of the Western establishments pretend like they don't understand, or the rest of the Arab countries pretend like they don't understand? Probably, yeah, which is you're dealing with something problematic with its root, from its roots. You're talking about a violent entity based on violence, established on violence and racism and supremacy and terror. They were only pretending to be different at some points previously in history. Their sponsors in Western establishments were playing ball with them through intimidation, manipulation, distortion. Yemen, from their perspective, are saying, no, we are going to escalate because this is how you deal with them. This is the conclusion that any sane nation should have reached from a very long time ago. Countries that only survive, live, and operate by force and by terror need to be met with something that will stop them. No, not just telling them to stop. I mean, many countries didn't even use any sort of financial leverage. They're talking about sanctions now. Western establishments, the United States and NATO, they moved and they waged wars against nations and countries just because they thought there was a small humanitarian breach here and there. Yet they're blind, or pretend to be blind, when the victims are Palestinian. Is it going to change at one point? Not sure, but Yemen is not waiting. Why is Yemen not waiting too, by the way? You see, Yemen understands that this is intended to kill not only the people in Palestine, it's intended to kill their spirit. And now, thankfully, we have more ministers in Israel, government ministers, you know. One of them was Amichai Eliyahu, the same man who threatened to nuke Gaza before. This is what he told the Israeli Broadcasting Authority today. The blockade of Gaza aims to break the spirit of its residents in order to pressure Hamas, which is holding the kidnapped. That was according to Amichai Eliyahu. In case you don't know this guy, here's how he looks like. That's Amichai Eliyahu. So he is outright saying we want to break the spirit of the Palestinian people. And that's something so important that we've constantly been talking about. And their psychological warfare and the fact that they want to break the spirit of not only the Palestinians, but everyone who supports them too throughout this barbarism. Yet they fail, like they have failed before. And any future attempts will fail too. It's not the first time he says that, by the way. He said that before. This was one of his previous reports here. Israeli minister government must find a way to encourage Palestinians to leave Gaza and break their spirit. That was also Amichai Eliyahu. That was in January 2024, over a year and a half ago approximately. So you have people who want to kill outright, say that we want to kill the spirit of the Palestinian people. That's why we're conducting a genocide. And from a Yemeni perspective and from the Gazan perspective, they know that. They know that very well. And that's why this Netanyahu cart operation, this is calling Gideon's chariots, Netanyahu's wheelchair or Netanyahu's cart or whatever you want to call it. It's a huge failure. The cart is being demolished by the Palestinian resistance. It's only targeting people. 500 innocent people. They're destroying the rubble. And why are they doing that? To break the spirit. To break the spirit of the people in Gaza. So that they can completely believe that, well, that's it. There is no hope. There's no hope. We need to kill their spirits and expel them from the Gaza Strip. How is that all? How do all of these things connect together? Israel refusing to have a ceasefire, allow 9 trucks as if they're ridiculing, everyone, thinking they can get away with everything. Some Western countries having enough or pretending to have enough with these statements, and threatening to take action. The United States stopping the attacks on Yemen, having a deal with them. Trump not visiting. Secretary of Defense not visiting. Now J.D. Vance canceling a visit. Well, the Secretary of Defense, he canceled the visit. Trump didn't even schedule one altogether. And now threats of sanctions. Now these reports coming based on sources about Trump saying we're going to abandon them. How does that all connect? And what is likely to happen? And that is quite clear. I mean, what we have is a situation that is quite clear. Israel has been gradually shredding, eliminating any ounce of the facade legitimacy it already had before the 7th of October. The legitimacy of Israel to exist as a supremacist apartheid entity before was a facade. It was fake. However, they used to get away with it. Why? The European and the Western establishments who used to support this enterprise used to tell you, oh, look, well, they're talking and, the Palestinians are living. It's not like if they're... And, there are peace talks and we constantly speak with our Israeli partners. And if something happens, they'll say, oh, we call upon a 2-state solution and reduce tensions. And let's not escalate the violence, the mutual violence, as if, you're talking about two equally powerful entities fighting each other. Stop the violence, right? Now, thankfully, Israel is eliminating all of that. So it's making itself a pariah state, thanks to Benjamin Netanyahu and his ministers. If there's one good thing about Benjamin Netanyahu and his ministers, is that they are the ultimate representation of the state of Israel. And everyone else that tells you anything else is lying. They are the representation of the state of Israel. The only difference is before, they used to hide it. Who supported the enterprise of the West Bank establishment? The West Bank settlements and squatters in the West Bank. They were for leftists, or some of them were leftists. People who criticize now the settlers, they used to go to the army and protect them when they were in the Israeli army. They're hypocrites. So it's not like there was a good version of Zionism. And now some people are telling you about, oh, we're liberal Zionists. The British foreign minister is telling you, oh, liberal progressive Zionism. There's nothing liberal and nothing progressive about Zionism. It's like saying liberal progressive barbarism. There's no liberal and progressive barbarism. There's no liberal progressive genocide. There's no liberal progressive war crimes. There is no liberal progressive apartheid or liberal progressive fascism or liberal progressive Nazism or liberal progressive slaughtering of infants and infanticide. There's no liberal progressive anything about that. There is Zionism, a supremacist ideology, violent by nature, that has been implementing all of this for the past century in Palestine. And there's the antidote to that, which is human rights, values, equality, morality. They go against all of that. And they've been getting away with it for so long. Now, thankfully, more revelation. So up until when are you going to give them time? Britain, France, and Canada just admitted about their complicity. They admitted how compliant they were in this genocide by now saying that we're going to impose sanctions if you continue, and starting to change the tone. You knew that already. Stop being hypocrite liars. You knew that already from a very long time ago. You could have taken action before. You chose not to because you're complicit. Now, if you want to change action and show everyone that you're genuine, implement that from now. Stop talking about take action, immediately take action. With every minute that they delay taking action, stripping all legitimacy, saying that's it, Israel is illegal altogether, more people are being killed. Every minute they bomb something in Gaza. Every minute people get killed. And these people, they don't have time to wait for your next statement. The thing that they have, the thing that needs to be done for them to protect them is concrete action, concrete measures to stop them, to stop Netanyahu altogether. Not say, oh yeah, let's try and we talk about a two-state solution. And no, stop it from now. That's it. This whole enterprise is a failed entity. We tried to support them. We failed. We have been completely on the wrong side of history. Say it as it is. There's no shame in acknowledging you were wrong. You were awfully wrong. You were awfully wrong. You were and still are on the wrong side of history. History will judge you. The people will judge you, like the people judge those who supported apartheid in South Africa and pretended later on like they didn't know. You're going to pretend like you didn't like and didn't support Zionism tomorrow. So do that from now. If you do it now, at least you'll have a bit more, maybe some respect, maybe. I can't guarantee, but maybe. So do us a favor and take this action from now.